All right, let's jump into a review of the M10 sharpener from Kazak in Poland. You guys might remember I reviewed the Kazak Pro outfitted with their lighting system a while back, and I was pretty impressed. Kazak sent me this sharpener for free, so technically this is a sponsored video. That being said, you guys know I call it like I see it on these sharpening systems. Kazak hasn't tried to influence this production in any way, to their credit. This is a typical turnstile sharpener of the sort we're used to seeing from TS Prof, for example. A knife is clamped in these aluminum jaws, and an edge pro stone is mounted on the sharpening arm. The sharpening angle is adjusted by moving the arm mount up and down on the riser by hand or by turning this fine-tuning spindle that will raise and lower the arm mount by tiny degrees. An angle finder is included so you can monitor that process. Once everything is set, the grit is applied to one side of the knife, and then it is rotated on the turnstile, and you can apply the grit to the other side. The Model 10 is compact and it weighs just over 7 pounds or 3,200 grams. It goes together quicker than any other turnstile system I've tested, and it only has one wrench to put everything together, which also tightens and loosens the knife clamps. So one tool, guys. Other sharpener manufacturers take notes on that. Not only does it go together quickly, but it is very sturdy. There's no bending or wobbling. It doesn't require a table clamp like many other sharpeners that I've looked at in this size range. You can use one, and if you're going to be putting a lot of weight on the edge, like maybe you're reprofiling or taking out a nick or something, you might use a table clamp, but for routine use, absolutely doesn't need one. Quite impressively, it clamps spine thicknesses just over 1/4 inch, something I haven't seen in this style of sharpener at this size. How long a knife can it sharpen? I think 12-inch knives are comfortable, and 14-inch blades are within striking distance. If you really stretch things out, 15, 16-inch blades, maybe. This one sharpens from about 9 to 24 degrees. I don't really see anyone using under 10 or much over 20, 22, but it can do it if you need it. Let's look at some of its features. The first one is this arm garage. The sharpening arm can be housed in this garage, and it's rock solid. It doesn't wobble, it doesn't spin away. The arm doesn't just fall out when things are jostled. And these are all things I've noticed in other sharpeners, so I'm quite impressed. It's a very solid arm garage. These yellow tabs are meant to prevent scuffing the surface of your knife if it has a special finish or whatever. I think they're annoying. I'll probably take mine out. What about the stone holder? It's easy to use and it holds stones tightly. It can be adjusted to accommodate stones of different lengths by turning the screw. The sharpening arm is thick and it's sturdy. There is no platform on the sharpening arm to accommodate an angle finder, so I just put it on the tube itself. It works fine, but I sort of think this is probably an oversight. There are 2 rubber bands that can be adjusted to limit the stone travel across the blade and keep you from scratching your knife up. The turnstile does not have an internal stop. Instead, it rotates until this cylinder mounted on the clamp arm comes to rest on one of these 2 posts. The cylinder is actually a magnet and it grabs the post, holding the knife in one position while you're sharpening. The mechanism is smooth and the magnet allows things to click into place in a very satisfying manner. After a few uses, one notices the wear on the post's coating from repeated strikes with the magnet. I tend to worry that at a certain point, the magnet could loosen or its attachment point to the aluminum clamp arm could start to wear. You know, I could be wrong on that, but the point is, even though it works well and it feels great, I wonder what the long term here is. I wonder if that's sort of a point of potential failure in the future. Here's one other thing I don't like about this system. Note that while sharpening the knife edge that's furthest from the magnet, that moderate downward pressure pulls the magnet up off the post and rotates the knife down just sort of briefly until the magnet can re-engage and pull things back to flat. Now, if you need to, if you're using a lot of pressure, you can just use 2 hands, or you can do this. One way to sort of mitigate the effect of the magnet pulling off the post here is to clamp the knife shifted towards the magnet, so you minimize the distance between the magnet and, say, the tip of the blade in this case, and also clamp the handle portion of the knife on the same side as the magnet. You can see when you do that, you can bear down pretty hard, not pull the magnet off there. Now, if your knife is long enough, you know, it's probably not going to help a whole lot, but for these medium knives, it works pretty well. Yeah, that's a pretty good solution. It works probably 90+% of the time. There were still some longer knives where I had to apply some pressure that I still had to use 2 hands at times. For using stones of varying heights, there's a stone compensation mechanism if you don't want to rely on the angle finder when changing or varying the grit. Use the fine adjustment knob to get your desired sharpening angle, then lock the arm mount in place and drop the fine adjustment knob under it by the width of your current stone by placing the stone like so here and locking things into place. When you want to change to a new stone, unlock the arm mount and move it up or down to accommodate the new stone width, and then lock it down again. And that's all it takes. It works pretty good. This is a very typical type of stone compensation mechanism for these sharpeners. What about those extras? Right now the website mentions the following items as being included in the base price. 5 diamond stones in a storage box, oil, a strop with polish, that's pretty cool, and a hex key. I didn't get any of this stuff except for the hex key, so I can't comment on the quality of the stones or the strop that they send out. A common concern for turnstile sharpeners is whether or not they hold the same angle when you go from one side to the next, and then even more importantly when you flip it back to the original side. Is everything the same? Are you sharpening in the same plane? It's a little hard to tell here because the wonkiness of this angle finder and the bevel is curved, the belly is curved on this knife, so the angle changes a little bit depending on where you come down on the knife with the stone. But essentially the answer is here, yes, this is very precise. Pros and cons. Pros, number one, is it's simple, sturdy construction. It goes together quicker than any other sharpener I've reviewed, and it hits like a brick. Man, this thing does not budge. There's no table clamp needed. Everything fits. There's no wobbling or bending or, jiggling apart or anything like that. Number two, simple adjustment tool. 1 hex wrench does it all. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Number 3, pro-grade versatility. Kazak advertises this for the casual home user. They don't put it in a professional category, but I sort of do. I think its ability to accommodate 1/4 inch spines and longer blade lengths combined with its sturdy construction, wide sharpening angle ability, 8 to 25 degrees, essentially make it a pro-grade unit. And to get all that in a tiny footprint is saying something. Number 4, all the frills. Great arm garage. Great stone compensator. Includes an angle finder, diamond stones, and a strop. Number 5, they use the Edge Pro style stones, which are everywhere, and people often have a set of stones that they already like for maybe polishing and such. So I really like that a lot. You can make your own Edge Pro style stones with backers and such, so it's good news. Number 6 Pro is its price, which sounds crazy because it's still expensive. It's $240 plus shipping to the US and Canada right now. That's if you don't pay VAT. So if you're in a country that has to pay VAT tax, then yours is going to be a little more. But that includes a strop and stones, and it puts it in direct competition with similar sized TS Prof units. For example, I think it's likely this will come in under the price of a TS Prof Pioneer for a lot of people. Cons. Number 1, I'm going to go ahead and list it. The magnetic turnstile holder. The magnet just isn't strong enough under certain circumstances to keep the knife anchored, and so you have to use 2 hands in some cases. Now again, if you're careful about how you clamp the knife, it's not really an issue, but there are just these certain cases where I wish the magnet were stronger or the mechanism were different. And then I also don't have a solid understanding in my head about what that contact between the metal and the aluminum is going to do over time with repeated striking. Maybe it's not a big deal. It's just a question mark. Number 2, no angle finder platform on the sharpening arm. This is nitpicking, but it really should be there. Number 4, I'm just going to say it, aesthetics. For me, this is the least mesmerizing sharpener I've seen in a while. Hapstone, TS Prof, they're just more, they're more stylistic and gadgety looking. The M10's not ugly, but it's not appealing either. So in conclusion, I highly recommend this thing. It's the most solid feeling turnstile sharpener I've laid my hands on. It's got this tiny but mighty thing going on. It goes together very easy, very quickly. One tool. It accommodates long blades. It accommodates thick spines. It sports a wide sharpening angle range that I'll never use all of. It's got all the bells and whistles I want. It's got the arm garage. It's got a stone compensator. It comes with diamond stones, a cheap but functional angle finder, and a strop. I can't vouch for the grit at all. They didn't send me any to try, but I'm assuming it's adequate. Let's just assume it's adequate. It's priced similarly to like sharpeners from other manufacturers, maybe a little cheaper. I do have concerns about aspects of the sharpener's magnetic turnstile mechanism, and the M10 falls woefully short of its competitors, aesthetically speaking, where it gets a 0 out of 10 style points. 0 out of 10. But in terms of its capabilities, the M10 takes home the gold. When you look at its footprint and its size and its stability, I like this little workhorse a lot. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, and I hesitate to say this out loud, I am probably going to start using this as my go-to sharpener because of its capabilities and the footprint. But that's it, you guys. I hope you found this review helpful and that you will recognize it to be free of bias. If you think it's biased, let me know. I try to do a very honest job here. At any rate, you guys tell me what you think. I'm going to use this for a couple months. If I have any problems with that magnet loosening up or things getting sort of crazy or wonky, I'll come back and tell you. But in the meantime, you guys have a good one. Take care, and I'll see you next time.